champion, Bryson DeChambeau!
Gosh, I'm trying to hold it in right now. The support's been overwhelming.
Tickets for Nashville this week are nearly sold out. We are calling this the Bryson effect.
Won the Saudi Open on the Asian Tour in April, and he won the International Series event in Macau in March, beating David Puig in a playoff. Here's a man with 9 career wins, 3 of them on the DP World Tour. 33 years of age from Sacramento, and he is making the most of his chance.
Remember, John Catlin playing as a reserve for Charles Howell III, who's injured. If he were to go on to win this, he gets those points. That would move him right at the top 24 number. Move him to 20th currently.
Yeah, another beautiful shot. These guys make this look so easy.
Tyrrell Hatton having a day. The Englishman 6 under par. He shares the lead with Abraham Answer for the time being, at least. Now this is Abraham Answer to stay at 7 under and in all likelihood have the overnight lead, and that is wonderfully done. Abe Answer with a 64.
This is what Live Golf's about, man. I had a vision of this 2-3 years ago, seeing what the potential could be, and this is just the start. I mean, with how much support we have out here, and it's just the start, that's a testament to what Live Golf is and what the Crushers are doing, what our team's doing, and what we're trying to do for Nashville and places all across the globe. So super excited for the future of Live.
Welcome in. We are live with you right here on SportsGrid. It is game time decisions on a Tuesday, October 29th. Kevin Walsh with you here again as we have Game 4 of the World Series between the Yankees and Dodgers taking center stage. It is a busy night here, though. On game time decisions, we have 4 games in the NBA. There's NHL, there's college football, and a lot doing in the National Football League with huge news around the AFC South. The Colts make the move from Anthony Richardson to Joe Flacco, and the division favorite Houston Texans lose Stephon Diggs due to a torn ACL for the remainder of the season. We'll talk with Adam Kaplan around all of that news. We'll talk with Brady Cannon what the look-ahead lines for week number 9 are suggesting. And on tonight's show, you get another installment of KW's Take 5 around NFL win totals. And this time, all 5 installments are wagers. We'll get to that, but let's start with this World Series as the Yankees attempt to win a game. They are favored to do so. Not for the first time in this series. The Yanks right now on FanDuel minus 134 on the money line. The total for this one is 8.5. We know that the Yankees will be going with Louis Heel. Ben Kasparis gets the ball for the LA Dodgers as they will look to go bullpen game again, which for the Yankees and the lackluster offensive performances we've seen, that is concerning. Not being able to find any rhythm, a new man each inning potentially, and the Dodgers won't hold anything back. No reason to, right? You can close it out here. And if you don't, well, then maybe one of your starters can just go a little bit longer in a Game 5. Heck, you have Game 6 and Game 7 as cushions back in your building. The Dodgers will feel comfortable. The Yankees would be over the moon to see Los Angeles again. Tonight they throw Louis Heel. Some, you notice, are a little bit puzzled by that move. The questions for, again, some Yankees fans and backers, where is Garrett Cole? Cole threw the opening game of this series and was phenomenal. 6 innings of work, just 4 hits, only 1 earned run on a Will Smith sac fly. He was excellent. Garrett Cole doesn't get the ball here. when Garrett Cole was taken out in game number 6, there were some, like Derek Jeter, a little bit annoyed that he was removed from that baseball game. It's the World Series. If there were ever a time to let a guy go 100-plus pitches, it's probably right then and there with Garrett Cole. But maybe the idea of taking Cole and not throwing him full gas in game 1 is to have him if you need him in game number 4. Well, it doesn't look like that is how Aaron Boone views it. And I agree with that assessment from Aaron Boone. A lot of people in Major League Baseball say, don't worry about tomorrow, worry about today. I get the premise. I just see it differently. I believe that if you are the New York Yankees, you have to be realistic. Your goal is not to win Game 4. It is to win the World Series. I understand you can't win the World Series without winning Game 4, but you need to win Games 4, 5, 6, and 7. And I believe the Yankees' best chance to do that is by having Louis Heel throw tonight. Garrett Cole throw here on a Wednesday. Who knows? Get wild. Maybe you toss him out there Saturday. I mean, he'd be available certainly in some capacity. Again, that's a Game 7. That would be incredible. But the Yankees, by throwing Heel tonight, if they win, they will be favored to win Game 5. I'm not sure that would be the case if Garrett Cole had the baseball here and they skipped over Louis Hill and all of a sudden Carlos Rodon was back out there. So they've given themselves that chance. And that is relevant because tonight, I think that means Louis Hill will be given some runway. I took him over 11 and a half outs recorded. That is 4 innings pitched. That is what Louis Hill did in his lone postseason start, which came against the Guardians. 4 innings, 79 pitches. Okay, maybe that is a tick lower than his regular season performances, but not by a ton. Again, he was given some chances there. I also believe Louis Hill is being given a chance because of what he did against the Dodgers in the regular season meeting. You can say it's crazy, but it is Aaron Boone, and he might be just that. But in that performance, he threw 5 2/3 innings, ended up allowing 3 earned runs. But he was incredible through 4. 1 hit, 1 walk, no runs to speak of. He was excellent. He absolutely was. Again, in the 5th inning, things started to spiral a little bit. So maybe Louis Hill wouldn't be given the grace to get that 5th inning. But I believe he gets 4. And that's what I'm banking on here tonight for the game between the Yankees and the Dodgers. You'll notice, though, the Dodgers are monstrous favorites to win this World Series. I think you could argue they should be even bigger favorites than minus 2,000. The only comeback ever in baseball history in a 7-game series for a team facing a 3-0 deficit. Yankees, Red Sox, 2004, yada, yada, yada. You know the score. It's almost impossible to do. And for the Yankees to do it against a team of the Dodgers' caliber, it is hard to imagine. But it would begin with tonight. And if it's going to happen, the Yankees are probably going to rely on the long ball. Tonight, the favorite to hit a home run, as always, it's Aaron Judge at plus 240. Stanton follows suit at around plus 265. Numbers move throughout the day. We know that. Ohtani, Soto, Muncy, Chisholm, Mookie Betts. My, oh my, where is Freddie Freeman? Way down the board. Freddie Freeman is homered in all 3 of the opening games of the World Series. Freddie Freeman's price to win World Series MVP is almost identical to the Dodgers' price to win the World Series. It's understandable. He is responsible for 50% of their runs scored so far in this series. 7 of 14 RBIs belong on Freddie Freeman's bat. Freddie Freeman doesn't have to do anything tonight to win World Series MVP. He wouldn't have to do anything tomorrow probably either to win World Series MVP. If we go to a 6th game, maybe things get a little bit interesting then. Also, if we go to a 6th game, if we're sat here and we're honestly evaluating the chances of the Yankees pulling off a historic, never-before-seen comeback in the World Series, while I understand Stanton and Jodo's status as the current favorites, both at 48-1 on the Yankee side for World Series MVP, it is anyone's ballgame. Anyone. Aaron Judge, Volpe, Verdugo, it does not matter. Nothing the Yankees have done through the first 3 games of this series is going to carry weight if they end up winning this World Series. It will be all about these upcoming games. And I almost hesitate to say upcoming 4 games, but hey, why not have a little optimism? You wait 15 years to get back to a World Series. No reason to end it early. Aaron Judge is 80-1. I'm not betting that. I don't think I'm going to bet him at plus 240 to the home run. But I'll tell you, there are no bigger at-bats than the ones that Aaron Judge will take tonight here at home in the Bronx. Legacy changing. He has to, at some point in this series, show a little bit of life. Again, clinging on to optimism, the at-bats got a little bit better as the game carried on against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Again, a little bit better. Time will tell. We'll take a break. We'll talk with Joe Madden about the World Series, the NHL slate, all with you on Game Time Decisions.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back with you right here on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh, it is Game Time Decisions. And on this Tuesday, we bring Joe Madden into the fold here. Joe, how are we feeling? World Series and a ton of action on the ice.
Game to get their bats awake. I still can't believe what we're seeing out of Aaron Judge out there. I was expecting it with the return to New York, so I'm a little worried about tonight's game. I could see the Dodgers taking it tonight.
Yeah, it's understandable, Joe. Certainly myself as a Yankee fan, it's been a tough watch so far. Nothing more difficult than watching these Aaron Judge at-bats. We'll get to the World Series in a bit, but with a much bigger slate of NHL action and maybe a little bit of momentum for people. Yesterday with the Equinox, I'm sure they were throwing hockey legs into the parlays more than they're used to. Why not stick with it here, Joe? And at 7 o'clock, we've got a lot of good games, including an interesting one between the Bruins and the Flyers. Boston right now sat at 500. What do we expect to see in this game?
You know, I'm looking for Boston to come out hot and to not look back in this game. I really do think in this one, they're going to score in that first period, get up and hold that lead. I'm going to lay the puck line in the first period, laying half a goal. That's coming in at plus 136. I do think they have every ability to hit Urgent here for the Philadelphia Flyers. And when we look at Swayman, he's been strong versus the Flyers in his career. So I expect him to have a solid night. Now, when we look at the Bruins, they're not creating those high danger shots that we want to see. But I do think on this Flyers team that is allowing those shots to come in, 28.2 shots per game, 4.4 goals on average, we will see the Bruins be able to get it done. So I'm riding with them, and I'm also riding on Brad Marchand and Pasternak here for big nights. We look at them, and when they face the Philadelphia Flyers, these guys have so much success out there. So much success that I have to look at Pasta for the 2+ goals. His 2+ goals coming in at plus 550 with a sprinkle on the hat trick tonight at plus 2,900. You can look at just his points for 2+ points at plus 190 if you don't want to get greedy. But between him and Brad Marchand coming out here, I think his points is a way to look as well. 2+ for him at plus 310. When they face Philly, they always get up, and they get up big in these games. Brad has faced some 51 times, 49 points, 18 goals, 31 assists, and Pasta coming in for 31 times, racking up 43 points in those 41 times, 26 assists and 26 goals and 17 assists, Kevin. This is going to be the night that you want to ride these guys for their props.
Yeah, all right, a lot of good options in that game. Joe, what about Montreal tonight? They'll play host to Seattle Kraken. They'll do so as home dogs. Any value there?
Yeah, there's so much value always looking at Montreal when they're a home dog. This is a perfect situation to bet them. Joey Decord expected here for the Seattle Kraken. Sam Montague for the Montreal Canadiens. Now, he hasn't looked as sharp as he did in those first couple. I do think you can look at this game to be a higher scoring first period. That first period over 1.5 and both teams to score. I do think Montreal has to be the way you have to look. Cole Caulfield has been playing outstanding for this team, and I do think with him racking up 8 goals already on the season, this is a game that will be a higher scoring one back and forth battle between these two, Kevin.
Yeah, all right, Joe. How about a really interesting one with Washington Capitals off to a nice start this year? Not as good as the New York Rangers. They've been excellent, unbeaten so far on the road, favored on the road here.
You know, it's difficult to bet against the New York Rangers, and I'm not going to because of that, Kevin. This team is so absolutely complete on all ends of the ice. The depth that they have on their forward situation is second to none. So what I'm going to do in this one is the Capitals have been rolling hot. They did lose that last game to Tampa, but before that, they were looking unstoppable out there on the ice as well. I'm looking at 2 playmakers for the anytime goals. I'll look at Panarin for the New York Rangers for his anytime goal, and Ovechkin really needs to start stepping up. We know he's looking to get to Wayne Gretzky's goal record. Unless he does, I tell you, it's going to be a hard one. So I'm looking for him for the goal tonight, plus 175, Panarin at plus 145. And if you're brave enough, you got to be brave, Kevin, to bet against the Rangers here. But you got a home dog in the Capitals at plus 122. Yeah. This is a revenge game as well. They've had this one circle. Remember, the Rangers swept them last year in the playoffs.
Joe, another home dog, albeit a small one, in the Pittsburgh Penguins here against the Minnesota Wild. Does this feel about right when you line this game up?
No, it doesn't, because Minnesota is so strong offensively, and we look at the defense here and the goaltending of Pittsburgh, and they're absolutely struggling now. Tristan Jarry is being sent down to the AHL to regain some confidence, and Bloomquist expected in goal tonight. When we look at the goaltender here for the Minnesota Wild, Kevin, this is where the storyline comes into play. We have Marc-Andre Fleury playing tonight. This will be his very last time playing the Pittsburgh Penguins, as he's expected to retire this year. The Penguins are who drafted him back in 2003. So I'm looking for a huge night out of Marc-Andre Fleury in this one. I do think he goes over his 27.5 save shots on goal, and I think a shutout could be loading. If you can get a shutout for him here, I think this is a prime opportunity for a big night out of him. The Penguins have been struggling offensively. You know, we've got a little bit of step up by Malkin, but Sid the Kid really isn't coming to play. And I do think when we look at the Wild, Kaprizov, so phenomenally strong out there. His anytime goal coming in at plus 120, his 2+ points at plus 130, and up to 3 points tonight at plus 420. That's where I'm going, Kevin. And I do think the Wild go over 3.5 goals. That's coming in at plus 122. It is the end of a road trip here for the Wild, but that storyline with Marc-Andre Fleury, I think it's worth a shot on them.
Yeah, and then, Joe, within that early window, quickly, the Isles going up against the Anaheim Ducks. They're huge favorite for New York.
Yeah, and good reason. Sorokin in goal. He's been absolutely fantastic versus the Ducks. I do think we could have another shutout here. Looking at him on the season, 1.74 goals against average, a .936 save percentage. Versus the Ducks, 1.45 goals against average and a .943 save percentage. So I do think Sorokin will win them this game. Take the Islanders on the puck line in the first period, plus 120. And you could even, laying 2.5 for the full game. I think it's a 3-0 game, Kevin.
All right, we're going to have Joe Madden stick around, finish out the rest of the NHL slate, and get some baseball picks with you here at SportsGrid. It's Game Time Decisions.
That kid on the 2-point conversion play was wide open on the right side of the end zone, and the kid threw it about 15 rows over his head.
People crystallized Georgia and Alabama. They put them on the shelf above everyone else, and they're just not there this year. I thought the kid Beck was great on Saturday, but they barely beat Mississippi State, who is porous.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Look, Aaron Rodgers, it does seem like he really enjoys, people like us, Vinny, talking about him.
I don't know what's going on here with Aaron Rodgers. I think there's some frustration settling in, and the Jets were not supposed to be this bad of a defense, right? They've had a lot of injuries. Maybe that's the thing here. Robert Saleh's influence is there. I know they have their defensive coordinator running things, but now he's distracted.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're in the mix with you here. It is Game Time Decisions, joined by Joe Madden. Joe, just to close out the NHL slate, we've mentioned a few road favorites. The biggest favorite on the board tonight is on the road. It's the Kings against the Sharks. How do you navigate that game?
You avoid taking the Kings at all costs because you look at the look-ahead situation, and this isn't pretty. They have the Vegas Golden Knights on deck tomorrow, and this is a Kings team that just beat the Sharks 3-2 on the 24th. So they're going to roll in here pretty confident. They're off the home win versus Utah on Saturday, 3-2, and I do think the Sharks, I bet on them last night, Kevin. They broke that losing streak, getting their first win of the season before returning home here, and I do think they can do it again in this matchup versus the Kings. You can grab them +1.5 on the puck line or just straight up on that money line at +220. Tyler Toffoli, Granlund, and Eklund have been phenomenally strong, and something you can look at as well, which I bet yesterday, is to take Toffoli, Granlund, and Eklund all for a point. Combining their points last night got us +168. Tonight, when you combine their points, it's dropped a little bit down to +155, but I still do think between the two of them, three of them, they had 11 points on the board yesterday. Those points are coming in again for these players tonight. I know the Kings are strong on defense, but this Kings team wants to get in and out tonight in San Jose. They're looking ahead to Vegas.
All right, Joe, let's get then now to the World Series. The Yankees, a favorite in the game. The total is 8.5. Are you looking to get involved with the side or total for game number 4 of the World Series?
I can't get involved in a side. I really did expect more out of the Yankees, and unless those bats come alive tonight, I just can't bet them. It looks like the Dodgers, you're getting plus money, and Kevin, you know I love betting with the underdog, and the Dodgers have just done one thing. They've proven to us that they know how to beat this Yankees team. I'm not sure if the Yankees wake up tonight, and I would love to see them wake up because I want this series extended. I don't want game 4 to go to the Dodgers, so I'm not touching a side in this one. When I look at that total, when we really break it down, those games all should have gone under, except the one that went over was because of Freddie Freeman with that grand slam. I'm going to look at the Yurfie, though. I think the top of the lineups here will come out nice and strong and be able to get runs on the board in that first inning. The Yurfie coming in at -125, Kevin. That's the way I'm going to go. But I could see extra innings in this. I really hope the Yankees, they come to play.
I hope so too, Joe. I hope so too. So a little first inning action. Anything props-wise stand out to you for this matchup?
Well, how can we not just go back to Freddie Freeman each and every single game? Yesterday, it was +690 for him to get the home run. Today, it's coming in at +600. And it has so much value because he's proven that he can get these home runs on the board. Now, when we look at Aaron Judge, I'm still always shocked when we look at the home run props that he's still listed as the top guy to get the home runs. We're getting the least value on him at +240. Can Judge wake up? I can't put my money on it again, Kevin. We know he was so phenomenally strong for us in the regular season, but I think here you just stay off. When the bats are cold, the bats are cold, and I don't want to waste my money on Judge one more time.
Yeah. I have like a little parlay he's a piece of. I don't know. It's been tough to watch, Joe. I got to be honest. I mean, I think back to when you and I were, baseball, Yankees. Hey, Joe, what do you like? Well, we got to bet Judge again, don't we? And every night, RBI. And it's not coming in. It is not. It's been tough to see, but we will watch it play out. Joe, we appreciate it. Best of luck to you with the baseball and, of course, the full NHL card.
Yeah, best of luck to everyone out there. Enjoy those games, and let's keep our fingers crossed for the Yankees to extend it to at least game 5, Kevin, here. So I'm hoping, I really am. I'd love to see Aaron Judge. You imagine if he gets a grand slam tonight? That would be
nice. All right. The more I'm going to end up betting Judge for 2 home runs again.
You talked me into it. I'm betting
All right.
Judge.
All right. We're in. Thanks as always, Joe. We're going to hit a break here. When we come back, we're going to bring in Brady Cannon. As always, we put a look ahead towards some of your upcoming NFL lines. And I know one game that has a lot of people interested in asking questions is the first game of the upcoming week. The Jets, a favorite over the Houston Texans. Could it be possible? Could the Jets be the side against a good team? They can't beat bad teams. They can't beat anyone. They stink. They are terrible. They should have never fired Robert Saleh. But maybe the Texans are too injured. It's possible. It's possible. We'll hit a break and be back with you on SportsGrid.
That kid on the two-point conversion play was wide open on the right side of the end zone, and the kid threw it about 15 rows over his head.
People crystallize Georgia and Alabama. They put them on the shelf above everyone else, and they're just not there this year. I thought the kid Beck was great on Saturday, but they barely beat Mississippi State, who is porous.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Look, Aaron Rodgers, it does seem like he really enjoys, people like us, Vinny, talking about him.
I don't know what's going on here with Aaron Rodgers. I think there's some frustration settling in, and the Jets were not supposed to be this bad of a defense, right? They've had a lot of injuries. Maybe that's the thing here. Robert Saleh's influence is there. I know they have their defensive coordinator running things, but now he's distracted.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we are back with you here on Game Time Decisions. Shortly, we will get to the NBA card, some NFL news, some updated NFL win totals. But we put an eye on the upcoming slate with our guy, Brady Cannon. Brady, how are we feeling on a Tuesday?
Oh, I'm good, man. I've got all the numbers crunched, and I'm ready to dive into the NFL Week 9.
Let's just start with this right here. I've seen a lot of people, now it's Twitter, like, oh my gosh, the Jets are favored over the Texans. This is what you would call the bottom of the market on the Jets. But what did you make of the fact, I know Houston's piling up injuries, that Thursday nighter does have New York booked as a favorite?
Well, I think probably the first reaction there is the short week games, Thursday night games. It is an advantage for the home team. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if that adjusts the home field advantage. I think the Jets, the Giants, obviously sharing MetLife Stadium there. I don't think either one of them has a tremendous home field advantage. I give them 1 point. My standard for most teams is 1.5, and then other teams might have two, maybe as many as the good old days, the 3-point advantage. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something reserved for like Green Bay when it's frigid out or something like that. But no, you do give the home team a little bit of an edge on Thursday nights. But when I go through all my numbers, I have the Houston Texans as a 1.5-point favorite. So, let's not set off the alarms, though, because there's not a whole lot of difference between 1.5 on one side and 1.5 on the other. Now, I know there are some 2s in the market, so it's a little surprising when you first glance at it. But again, 1 point either way, 1.5 point either way, it's pretty much a toss-up, whichever. And it's actually really good for betting, Kevin, because now is a wonderful opportunity to tease the Houston Texans. And
Okay.
if things do move later in the week and you get the Texans as a 1.5 or 2 point favorite, then you've got a terrific opportunity to tease the Jets. So this is actually a pretty good number to have bounce around in favor of the better.
Now, there's another spot I want to ask you about, which is very difficult, but the Carolina Panthers, I feel they're either the easiest team in the world to bet, or because you just fade them every single week, right? They had the 1 week they covered with Dalton came in. I don't think they've covered another game. I mean, they don't come close to covering these games.
Right.
They're now a
Yeah,
7
not only
point.
do they not cover,
Right.
they don't even come close.
I saw the line for them against Denver, and I kind of wanted to bet against the idea that Dalton was markedly better than Bryce, but I pulled back because while the offense is terrible, I think the defense is even worse, and that seems to be holding up. I see them catching 7 to New Orleans, who's super banged up. I know Carr's on his way back. Look, could I tell myself, oh, man, 7 home dog? I think I'd rather sit on the sidelines of every Carolina game the rest of the way, Brady, than lose money on that team. What do you make of them heading into this now Week 9 game?
Well, I think you have to be betting against them. If you're going to play Carolina the rest of the way, it's got to be in fade mode. I haven't really found a spot that I have loved for Carolina. I did bet on them against the Raiders when they won outright. That first game when Dalton came in, that often causes a boost. We saw it with Jameis Winston this past weekend. When you get a switch like that, you'll often get the boost. Now, it didn't happen in reverse order with Bryce Young, but I was actually on the Denver Broncos. My numbers were ridiculously in favor of the Denver Broncos this week, and a lot of people cashed that ticket. But yeah, if you're going to continue to involve Carolina in your betting portfolio, it's got to be a go against. The market really hasn't adjusted for how bad this team is just yet. Now, when I crunch all the stats this week, I come out with New Orleans as a 5-point favorite. But, Derek Carr's been gone for 3 weeks now. So these numbers are reflecting quite a bit of, the backup, Spencer Rattler, Hayner, what have you. Now that Derek Carr, I think he's probably going to return. I think that's why the number is 7. I think the books are a little bit in protect mode here. They know what we're talking about. If you're going to bet a Carolina game, it's against them. So they're maybe inflating that number a little bit, but they're also probably putting it up there a little higher because maybe they have information that Carr's going to be back. Now, if Carr's going to be back, it probably goes up even higher, I would think, Kevin. 7.5, 8.5. I mean, Spencer Rattler and Derek Carr is not just a couple point difference, as we have seen. The Saints have been absolutely awful. It was 5 in a row now that they've lost, and they had a number of chances to cover that game against the Los Angeles Chargers and could not. The defense played fantastic in that game, but the offense could not get out of its own way. So I'm not going to do anything with this just yet because I want to find out what the story is on Derek Carr. But I think that's probably why you're getting some discrepancy in the numbers here.
Yeah, the Carolina situation, again, it's sometimes, teams will have this year. I cannot wait. They play Kansas City this year. They're home, which is a shame because that, will decrease the line a bit. I just want to see how high we can get. Like, Brady, do you have an idea of what that line would look like for you, possibly Carolina hosting Kansas City?
Carolina hosting Kansas City, by my numbers right now, would be it's probably over 2 touchdowns. I'm going to say it's probably about 14.5, and on a neutral, it's probably 16.
Yeah,
and we're going to give Carolina 1.5 or what have you. So yeah, I'd probably say, and it depends on where we are another few weeks away, whenever that game comes up. But right now, it's probably 14.5.
Yeah, which I will say that might be when I finally get in. Because, again, the Chiefs have no interest in covering any number. They're so predictable, it's crazy.
You just they can't seem to do anything, though. They can't even keep it close. That's a problem.
Yeah. Oh, they can't.
There are teams that are live dogs. I liked the Saints last week. I thought the Saints, and they were in that game until the very end when they weren't. They were covering the entire time. All they had to do was get one score, right?
Right.
And Carolina's been in that situation. Just get a touchdown, just one score. That's all we ask. They can't get it done, and then they end up losing by 3 scores.
Yeah, right. It all starts to unravel out of nowhere where you felt good about it for quite some time. We talk about kind of, how quarterbacks can move some numbers, right? Carr over Rattler, that's a huge upgrade there. Winston over Watson, clearly an upgrade. Are you cautious, though, in how much you shoot him up? Because, beating the Ravens, it's about as good as anyone can do. That game's flirting with getting to pick now as they're going to host the Chargers, who you just talked about this upcoming week.
Yeah, I actually don't know if there's a ton of difference between Jameis and Deshaun Watson. Now, obviously, it made for a big difference last week, but I think that was absolutely more situational. I think the team was thrilled to get Watson out of there. They're probably tired of that bad situation just lingering around the locker room. That was a little bit of a cancer. Believe me, there were guys that it's not like this situation with Deshaun and the legal battles and everything he's going through. There were guys that cared. They were offended by that stuff. I don't want you to be misled that, these are professional football players. They don't care, yada, yada, this stuff. No, I think they absolutely cared. They were thrilled to get the new guy in. So that was reflective. That result last week, I think, was not just the fact that you had a substantially better quarterback coming in. I don't know if there's a ton of difference. And I think there's a little bit because we've seen Watson just looked like, incompetent compared to what Winston was able to do. So I think there's maybe a little difference, but I don't think there's as much as people might believe as far as in relation to the point spread. The Chargers opened up a 2-point favorite. That's pretty much exactly what I have.
Yeah, I wonder, maybe a world where Winston's difference in the props market is markedly more than it is in the spread department.
Yeah,
and
I wouldn't doubt
maybe that's how
Good
it'll
point.
play out.
Yep.
We're going to keep Brady around here. A couple of other different interesting spots we'll get to. It's here. It's Game Time Decisions.
That kid on the 2-point conversion play was wide open on the right side of the end zone, and the kid threw it about 15 rows over his head.
People crystallize Georgia and Alabama. They put them on the shelf above everyone else, and they're just not there this year. I thought the kid Beck was great on Saturday, but they barely beat Mississippi State, who is porous.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Look, Aaron Rodgers, it does seem like he really enjoys, people like us, Vinny, talking about him.
I don't know what's going on here with Aaron Rodgers. I think there's some frustration settling in, and the Jets were not supposed to be this bad of a defense, right? They've had a lot of injuries. Maybe that's the thing here. Robert Saleh's influence is there. I know they have their defensive coordinator running things, but now he's distracted.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back to right here. We're joined by Brady Cannon. The next game I wanted to bring up, we kind of discussed a little during the break already, but it's Sunday Night Football. Now, I will tell you, Brady, I will be personally boycotting this game as I am going to Eagles-Jaguars, and they flexed Eagles-Jaguars out of Sunday Night Football for this game, and that just bothered me so much that I cannot even show Vikings-Colts any respect. But I'm curious how you see this game, of course, with the big Richardson-Flacco swap news that came out earlier today.
Yeah, this one came pretty close on my numbers here. I made the Vikings a 5-point favorite. Obviously, it opened 6. When I crunch all the stats, I come out to Minnesota minus 6.5. Now we get the news that Flacco's going to play, and we've seen it come down to 5. And I completely agree with the move. I've been talking with other bettors, both professional, casual, what have you, for the last handful of weeks, and we all agree that we love betting against the Colts when Richardson plays, and it's either a stay away or bet on the Colts when Flacco plays. I think he's clearly giving this team a better chance to win football games, and the market has responded. The Vikings were a 6-point favorite. It has come down to 5, and maybe you'll see it move even more. You and I were talking about, and I think everybody agrees on this as well, the reason the organization is not starting Joe Flacco every game is because Anthony Richardson is a guy they drafted for their future. They want him to develop. They need to get him the reps. He's basically a rookie this year. What, he played 4 games last year, and he's played, maybe 3 this year. So this guy is still extremely young in his career. And you can't just plug Flacco in and say, okay, let's try and make the playoffs, because that's not really doing a lot for your future. Obviously, they made a move, and I understand. Who knows exactly what all the reasons are there. But I think what we're saying here is probably what is believed by the Colts organization as well.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Like, Richardson is certainly not having the type of year that they wanted. But to be sat there at 4-4 and think, you know what, let's see if we can make a push to get a playoff spot. I don't like the move whatsoever. I don't. Again, we're going to do some updated win totals. I told people I bet that before the news. I like it more. I'm under their current 8.5 at what is minus 142 juice. Brady,
they're going to go back to him, Kevin. I think eventually they're definitely going to go back to Richardson, because like we're talking about, that's the future of this organization, unless they bail on him and try and draft another quarterback. But I think the kid has upside.
Well, and that's kind of the issue that they found themselves in, Brady, where I'm not sure in this offseason they'll be ready to move on from him. So
not yet.
That makes this a tough move. And if you look, the reason I'm on there under, for me, look, those are all going to be schedule-driven wagers. Just to give people an idea, their upcoming 4 games, at Minnesota, home against Buffalo, at the Jets, home against the Lions, I think they'll project as an underdog in all 4 of those football games. And I don't think Flacco is enough of a difference to get that team to rip off a 3-1 stretch there. I think that if they get 2 wins, they should be over the moon. But again, I think they could still get 2 wins if it was Richardson. Again, we see that very, very much so the same. I don't really follow what they've done with that move there. Brady, one game, and look, this kind of happens, right? There'll be one game where I see a line and go, is there an injury? Maybe it's, I don't know if I'm just kind of late to the party on this Rams stuff. I saw them favored in Seattle and truly asked myself, did Geno get injured? And I didn't know it at the end of the Buffalo game. Now, maybe he did, and I are you surprised at all seeing the Rams favored in Seattle?
I'm not. I made the game pick 'em. Obviously, the Rams opened up as a 1-point favorite. When I crunch the numbers, I make Seattle a 2-point favorite. We've talked about it. There's not a whole lot of difference there. But I'll tell you one thing, and I've made notes in my numbers. The Rams are, I believe, playing way above what their stats will tell you. There's a number of teams like the Broncos, just by the numbers, rate exceptionally high. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, by the numbers, rate really high. They're playing above their head, if you will. Denver's numbers are really good because their defense is exceptional. The Chicago Bears numbers are really good because their defense is good. The overall package is different, though, and I think that's what you're getting with the Rams. The Rams, by their numbers, and look how they started the year. they were a mash unit injury-wise. The very first game of the season, they had a ton of injuries. Now they are at their healthiest. So the Rams are really, you could argue, are playing their best football right now, and they are the healthiest they've been all season. So those numbers for the first 4, 5, 6 weeks aren't necessarily telling you the story, I believe. And the odds makers are adjusting, obviously. So, yeah, no, I think the Rams are the better team. I mean, Seattle, we know the way they started out, and we talked about it, that was fraudulent with the 3 teams that they beat, the Miami Dolphins without Tua, the Patriots, and the Broncos in the very first game of Bo Nix's career. And we've seen the real Seahawks show up ever since. I think the Rams are absolutely trending up, where Seattle, I think, we're probably seeing about what they are right now. And the Rams are probably headed for bigger and better things now that they're getting healthier. So no surprise there. But just a note to make to yourself there, if you start crunching the stats, the Rams are going to look a lot worse to you on paper than I believe they really are.
Yeah, I definitely think the Rams are more talented than 3 and 4. I guess, and everyone's process can be different. I just saw Buffalo go to Seattle and only lay 3. So for the Rams to be half that, again, I don't think I make this point if it's Seattle 1.5, right? Which it's not, the odds of it landing 1 are unlikely. But it was enough to me to kind of raise the antennas, if you will. It should be a really fun slate.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great comparison. Why was Buffalo only 3? And I was kind of asking myself the same thing. And we saw what they did to them. They annihilated Seattle. But something smelled funny about that line. And maybe I thought the bookman, it wasn't a great spot for Buffalo. They had played a number of primetime games, a number of road games. I think it was 4 out of their last 5 games going into that were on the road. That was telling me maybe that's why it's only 3, but obviously that wasn't the right number. But what you're saying is confusing, but I think it was just the wrong number on Buffalo.
Yeah, clearly so. They dominated that game when it was all said and done. Brady Cannon, we appreciate it. We'll hit the NBA slate with you on the other side of this commercial break.
That kid on the 2-point conversion play was wide open on the right side of the end zone, and the kid threw it about 15 rows over his head.
People crystallized Georgia and Alabama. They put them on the shelf above everyone else, and they're just not there this year. I thought the kid Beck was great on Saturday, but they barely beat Mississippi State, who is porous.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Look, Aaron Rodgers, it does seem like he really enjoys, people like us, Vinny, talking about him.
I don't know what's going on here with Aaron Rodgers. I think there's some frustration settling in, and the Jets were not supposed to be this bad of a defense, right? They've had a lot of injuries. Maybe that's the thing here. Robert Saleh's influence is there. I know they have their defensive coordinator running things, but now he's distracted.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We're with you right here on Sports Grid. Tonight, the NBA is giving us 4 games. Nets, Nuggets, Timberwolves, Mavericks, Jazz, Kings, then Warriors, Pelicans. One thing with tonight's slate, and it's going to take a little bit for these things to normalize, and I think for everyone to kind of feel comfortable about back-to-backs within the NBA, and I'm not getting into, oh, no, guys aren't playing. No, it's early. Guys are playing. But we're still seeing back-to-backs, I think, pretty clearly way into these numbers quite a bit. Just take Minnesota and Dallas, for example. Dallas is on leg number 2. Minnesota has the rest advantage. These are 2 teams, just from the futures market, you can tell books view similarly. Their odds to win the Western Conference, their odds to win the NBA championship. There is a marginal gap. There is a gap that actually favors Minnesota, which is a gap that I significantly disagree with, but again, it is small and in a little bit of home court advantage. And if you were to tell me that Dallas was a 2 to 2.5 point underdog in this basketball game, that is a number that, again, I'd be willing to bet against, but not be overly surprised by. But again, that would still need 3 more points of explaining as we sit here at 5.5 or 5 for a lot of these books. And I think that, again, checks a lot into playing on the second leg of a back-to-back, which is interesting because either you can go against it and say, whoa, we're way overvaluing that, or no, this is a correct number. I don't necessarily think the number's correct. I think Luka Doncic is in a spot actually here to blast through a lot of his numbers. For those of the King of the Court backers, the DK promo, I'm on Luka tonight. I'm on Luka to bounce back in a major way through the scoring angle. Luka Doncic in his game against Utah, 5 of 22 from the field. That's under 25% from the field. He was 1 of 9 from 3, and he only scored 15 points. How many times do I have to talk about a bounce-back spot? The statistics are jaw-dropping. Last year, consistently followed up games of that poor efficiency with at least 30-plus points. Considering Luka Doncic averaged 34 a game last year, it should come as no surprise. And to see a 28.5 number when in game number 1, he scored 28 while being wildly inefficient and followed up with a 40-piece here, it looks like the books are shorting the Luka scoring this season more than they should. Tonight is really a stars night. There's some slow starts out there that suggest bounce backs. Anthony Edwards could fit that qualifications as well. Ant is really struggling efficiency-wise. Though his a little bit easier to explain, Anthony Edwards is shooting double the amount of threes that he did last year, 6.7 to 13.3. That's just going to change your efficiency. But if he's going to shoot this many threes, it's also going to give him a high floor for scoring. He scored 24-plus in each of the first 3 games this season. His points prop's been on the move throughout the day. It's not a bad parlay piece. There's a bounce-back spot on the board for Nikola Jokic. Him not scoring. Jokic has 40-plus points in back-to-back games. It's in the rebounds plus assists market, specifically the assists. 4 assists in each of the last 2 games. Nikola Jokic almost never had games with 5 or less assists last season. Certainly, very rarely did it happen back-to-back. Mon Jokic tonight over 20.5 rebounds plus assists, because even in the rebound department, left a little bit wanting here. And Denver tonight is going to be missing some of their front court depth with Ben Simmons and Day'Ron Sharpe still out for this basketball game. And then your final star bounce back is one of the bigger ones, and it's Zion Williamson. I've never wanted to bet field goal percentage over more in my life. Zion has gone under 30% from the field in each of the first 2 games to start this season, which matches the career total of games that he had with under 30% shooting from the field. His entire career, in his first 184 games, twice he went under 30%. He's done it twice to start this season. Well, again, in the career of Zion, the first time it happened, he followed up with 21 points on 9 of 11 shooting, and it happened last year. And he followed up with 36 points on 13 of 14 shooting. Bounce back spot for Zion is absolutely in range late night as the Pels go up against a hobbled Golden State Warriors. Sacramento, Utah, not much jumping off the page for me, but as a Kings futures backer, this is a big one. Yes, you are at a rest disadvantage, but beating up on the Utah Jazz is what winning teams in the West need to do. We'll see if that's what they do. A lot of NFL news today. We have Adam Kaplan stop by to break it down with us next.
That kid on the two-point conversion play was wide open on the right side of the end zone, and the kid threw it about 15 rows over his head.
People crystallized Georgia and Alabama. They put them on the shelf above everyone else, and they're just not there this year. I thought the kid Beck was great on Saturday, but they barely beat Mississippi State, who is porous.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Look, Aaron Rodgers, it does seem like he really enjoys, people like us, Vinny, talking about him.
I don't know what's going on here with Aaron Rodgers. I think there's some frustration settling in, and the Jets were not supposed to be this bad of a defense, right? They've had a lot of injuries. Maybe that's the thing here. Robert Saleh's influence is there. I know they have their defensive coordinator running things, but now he's distracted.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're right here on SportsGrid tonight. World Series game number 4. NBA, NHL action, college football as well. But the NFL is king. And they keep on delivering big news days on Tuesdays, which is why we need NFL insider Adam Kaplan to help us try and figure out what is going on. One piece of news, Cap, that feels a little more straightforward is Deontay Johnson being moved out of Carolina. And the Ravens going and finally grabbing another wide receiver. This feels like the best wideout room Lamar Jackson has had, and we continue to see the wide receiver position be in demand.
Yeah, let's start with Baltimore before we get the other teams and so forth. At this receiver position, which has been really hot the last 3 weeks. So here's why Baltimore did this trade. Rashad Bateman, good football player, big injury history, right? And you want to make sure he's available down the stretch. Zay Flowers played through an ankle injury, and they're starting to get their pass game going. It's been a lot of Derrick Henry, but Lamar Jackson's been on a roll lately. You can't have enough depth at the receiver position, and Deontay's going to have to learn how to play with Lamar. They're going to have to get their timing down together. But this is a smart move by Eric DeCosta, their general manager, getting a guy who's on the final year of his deal. Yeah, he wants a new deal, but they could deal with it after the season, see if they want to bring him back. But when you're trying to make a Super Bowl run, remember, they started the season off 0-2, Kevin. People forget about that. But they've been on a roll lately. Now, their problem also is on defense, where the secondary is just not playing well. Offensively, they're fine, but this helps their receiver rotation. Then getting over to Carolina before we move on, they're in what we call evaluation mode. They're looking at the younger players on their roster, and they're looking towards next year. So, to me, Deontay Johnson was going to be back, and why not move him?
Let me ask you, Cap, with Bryce Young, because we're going to get to his draft classmate in a moment. He gets the job back from Dalton, but that's kind of injury related. Do you anticipate they'll go with Bryce the remainder of the season in Carolina?
No, I think it's how he plays, when he plays. Interesting, he got off to a really good start against Denver. First quarter was on fire, and then it kind of slowed down. Now you trade Deontay Johnson. Jonathan Mingo, I know, is a guy that other teams have called about. I know that there's interest in Jonathan Mingo, who was a second rounder a couple years ago. We'll see what happens there. But look, if you're going to have Bryce Young play, you got to try to help him. Like, they have a decent tight end group, but they're a little bit thin at receiver. But you saw Leggett have a nice game last week, so they got to get him going.
Mm-hmm.
To me, no, they want to continue to evaluate Bryce Young, but to say they won't pull him if Andy Dalton's available,
yeah.
I don't think anybody could say that because they've already done it.
Yeah, they have. I think if he's pulled again, that has to, mean his future would be done in Carolina, and maybe that's already inevitable. What about the future of Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis, Cap? I am a little surprised by this move. I don't really agree with the move. I'm curious what you have made and heard around this decision.
Yeah, let me give you a scouting report on Richardson. Very, very talented guy. So we have to talk about what happened last week. He pulled himself out of the game because he was tired. He actually admitted that on the record. This will never go over well with the general manager, Chris Ballard, the head coach, Shane Steichen, and his teammates. You can't do that. If you have to say you don't, like, if you can make something up if you're Anthony Richardson about being hurt or something, you don't go on the record or admit that you were tired. You can't do that. You're the quarterback, Kevin, is the leader of the football team. And the knock on Richardson was maturity. That coming out of the University of Florida, that's what I was told. Very talented kid, not a bad kid off the field, but needs to grow up a little bit. And now going forward here, you have to see that. He's going to take a step back. Joe Flacco is not only the NFL's best backup quarterback, Kevin. He probably could start on over half the teams, but they signed him on a one-year deal worth $4 million. There's some, I'm told, some playing time incentives where you can make a lot more money. This is for Richardson to decide, settle down, take a look, understand you got to do better, handle yourself better. Flacco's a true pro, and by the way, he should have been back in Cleveland. That's another story. Jameis Winston will close the season of the Browns started, played well last week. But getting back to the Colts, I could also tell you the Colts were the only team to offer Joe Flacco a deal. Can you believe that? It's true.
Well, let me ask you, though, so is your read, because I'm trying to kind of, is they think Flacco gives them the better chance to win, or it's almost a punishment for what Richardson said about being tired?
To me, it's a combination. It's for Richardson to take a step back. And the other thing we need to mention is he has not been playing well. Let's not forget about that. He had the injury last year. He got off to a great start. I had an offense coordinator tell me from another team who did not like Richardson at all going to last year's draft. I remember him texting me. He goes, "Man, I was wrong about Richardson, man. He's got off to this great start." This is before he hurt his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he missed the rest of the season. This season, he got off to a very bad start. Got hurt again. Hasn't looked right. And this is a chance to. There's like that overview that coaches will tell you. They get to see it from the player gets to see it from the sidelines and see how it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Richardson's a pretty competitive guy, but he's got to grow up, man. You can't do that. That's embarrassing. Now, remember Chris Ballard, the general manager, drafted him. This guy's a first-round pick, Richardson. They're going to want to take a look at him later in the season. They're absolutely going to want him in there. It temporarily also, and I think you're alluding to that, gives him a better chance to win. There's no question about that. Flacco played great, by the way. That's the other thing. He was great for Cleveland, brought them to the playoffs, put the team on his back, played very well, and kept the Colts in the playoff race earlier this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an interesting thing. I think, not to take credit away from Flacco, but the performance we got from Jameis suggests it wasn't all Flacco, and it might just be anybody other than Watson, and they just averaged 300 yards a game, right? I mean, that's kind of what the results are. For Indianapolis, it feels short-sighted, where their future is not in Flacco. I think anybody would agree with that. So it's a little bit surprising. Within the division, though, Cap, and they had a chance to get first place if they beat Houston. They didn't. The Texans are in the driver's seat, but injuries, it hit them hard last year. They battled through it. It's hitting them again. What do you hear around that football team now with the devastating Stephon Diggs torn ACL news?
Yeah, and look, that'll knock him out to next summer. They got to look at his contract. Nico Collins, their number one receiver, who's been a terrific story of development with C.J. Stroud, he remains on IR with his hamstring injury. So what they're going to do is they're going to go with Xavier Hutchinson, who's been there for a little bit, who's done a nice job when called upon. John Mechie, a former second-round pick, had overcome the illness that he had. He's doing well. He got a lot of playing time last week, so they're going to go with those two young guys, and they're going to have to look at the street free agent market, guys who are not signed right now. They're going to have to look at the trade market, because if you look at their roster to start the season, they were 6 deep at receiver, but now they're only 4 deep, but they don't have that high level guy. And by the way, Robert Woods has been banged up, the veteran receiver. They need to get him back from his injury, so they've got a lot of work to do. I'm sure their front office was never even thinking about the receiver position, but they're going to have to. Nick Caserio, their GM, has done a phenomenal job the last 2 seasons. I was very critical of him for a couple of years there, but they've turned this thing around, and they're going to have to look at the market out there. There's no question about it.
Cap, let me ask you quickly before we let you get out of here. The Jets, what are you hearing around that situation? Because, I mean, they're the worst nightmare. I don't think it looked as bad as this. 2-6 now. They lose to the New England Patriots.
So the name to watch is Mike Williams. I know other teams think they're going to move him. The Jets have not done anything yet. One of the teams to watch are the Steelers, because I'm told that they actually looked at him in free agency. They didn't get him, obviously, because he went to the Jets. Steelers are looking for a receiver. They're on their bye now. Mike Williams is a guy that he's going to be out there. Like their teams are going to look at him hard. And by the way, I'm told he's healthy, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting just to see. Again, if the Jets have any fight as they'll play the Texans on that Thursday. Cap, we appreciate it. We're back with you. It's a quick break. It's Game Time Decisions.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Back in with you here on SportsGrid. We were just talking with our NFL insider, Adam Kaplan. We had some news break even while we were talking to Cap with the Vikings adding a new left tackle in Cam Robinson from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Some relevant news for some of the action that I'll be looking for when we get to our Take 5 win totals. So sit tight. We'll get to those momentarily. But, again, we got through a lot of the stuff with Cap and, kind of within the NFL. And I went through and every single team, I went all 32 to find my 5 for the Take 5. And I feel good about it. There's a few others. There's about 3 others that kind of just missed the cutoff point. I was thinking about a Bears over, a Patriots over, and I think a Titans under were all some consideration points that I had, kind of just, weaving through everything. But you also could get a sense of, some totals are pretty high. Oh, but man, hey, look, things still look good. And, man, you look at the schedules and the starts that the Lions and the Chiefs have had. And sometimes teams slip, right? And we know that happens. But both are set up to have a lot of success the rest of the way. And if you look at the moment, they do have the current highest live win totals. Detroit's is at 12.5. It is a lot of plus money on the over. And then Kansas City is in a completely different stratosphere at 14.5. A lot of that is them. A lot of that is the schedule as well. But it then made me start to wonder, as I am fascinated by the NFL's MVP award. Mahomes is now back to plus 500. Allen, in fact, Josh Allen is the new favorite at plus 270. A little surprising that he jumped to the favorite. I mean, listen, 283, 2 scores, a pick. Not that it was a bad game, but it wasn't, I don't know, that's not like a prime, oh my goodness, Josh Allen game. I mean, the fact that he's 14 touchdowns to just 1 pick this year, that is obviously incredible. The loss for Lamar, knocks him back. But now we're seeing the books kind of take a stance of, I don't care about the Chiefs winning every game. Pat has to start doing a little bit more. They're not just going to, maybe give this guy the award regardless. Pat did go out there, complete over 70% of his passes. He threw 2 touchdowns, as always, as he's done in every game this season. Threw another interception, 262 yards. And look, I'm not here to change my tone, right? Of, being frustrated by Kansas City, not enjoying the Chiefs quite a lot. But I'm trying to figure out, what does Mahomes have to do statistically to win the NFL MVP if they're 14-3, 15-2, 16-1? What does he have to do statistically? Because you see what the expectations are record-wise. I mean, at this point, right, now that they've gone out there and started 7-0 with 10 games remaining, if they went 5-5 the rest of the way, that would be jarring beyond belief, right? Well, that would get them 12 wins. A tick over 500 in their remaining 10 games, that's 13. You see why that number is at 14.5. And again, they have a number of games remaining within their division, and they're going to be comfortable favorites in all of them. They still get to host Denver, Vegas, and the Chargers, with a trip to Denver closing out the regular season. Who knows whether they'll need that game or not? But what does Mahomes need to do statistically to win this award? Well, he has to stop throwing interceptions, right? He has to. He's almost, I don't know if it's up. I'll try and find it as I'm talking here. If he's the favorite to lead the NFL in picks. I mean, he should be, quite frankly. I don't see the market up right now. Maybe another book does have it. But he has to stop throwing them at this rate. Now, if he does, right, that'll help. But he also is going to have to start firing in way, way more touchdown passes. If you look at Lamar Jackson's NFL MVP last season, as somebody who do not I don't believe Lamar should have won that award really at all. Lamar's he's having a much better year this year than he was having last year. Lamar had 24 touchdowns in the air, 7 interceptions. He did have 5 rushing touchdowns, which saw his total touchdown number up to 29. But again, Lamar won MVP because of his team's record. That's how he won MVP. He had no chance to win it. And then on a Christmas game against the Niners abused Brock Purdy. Second year in a row, he had a chance to make a statement in the MVP market and just threw it away. Attaboy, Brock. What am I going to do this annually? Nevertheless. But again, Lamar didn't win it with a 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, right? Like, it was a 3-to-1. It was better than 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. I wonder, and I know the idea from the people in Kansas City is going to be that he doesn't care. That's a lie. That is a lie that you are telling yourself because your guy is right now not playing the level. You all picked him. You, the Kansas City people, the Mahomes people, all picked him to win League's MVP. He hasn't won it in a while now, it feels like, right? I mean, he's been the best quarterback in the league since what? He took over? And he doesn't have more MVPs. You know it bothers you, and it bothers him. When every year they drop the NFL top 100 and he's not first. You know it bothers him. Record-wise, they'll check the box. Does Mahomes start to chase touchdowns the rest of the way to try and actually win League's MVP? Something I am going to be fascinated in. But with that win total at 14.5, I couldn't get there. It's so big, I probably lean under. Yeah, not rushing to bet it. But there are 5 that I'm ready to fire on. KW's Take 5 is next, right here on SportsGrid.
That kid on the two-point conversion play was wide open on the right side of the end zone, and the kid threw it about 15 rows over his head.
People crystallized Georgia and Alabama. They put them on the shelf above everyone else, and they're just not there this year. I thought the kid Beck was great on Saturday, but they barely beat Mississippi State, who is porous.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Look, Aaron Rodgers, it does seem like he really enjoys, people like us, Vinny, talking about him.
I don't know what's going on here with Aaron Rodgers. I think there's some frustration settling in, and the Jets were not supposed to be this bad of a defense, right? They've had a lot of injuries. Maybe that's the thing here. Robert Saleh's influence is there. I know they have their defensive coordinator running things, but now he's distracted.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
KW's Take 5. We are at it once again. And it is this time going to be NFL win totals. Now, we've done a few installments of KW's Take 5, and typically when we attack a market, we come away with a best bet. But I've ranked what are my favorite 5 options. Today, with the NFL win totals, I am betting all 5 of these. They are still ranked for you to where maybe you only want to take the top choice or the top 2, but let's get right into it here because we've got 5 picks we've put on the board, and it begins with a relevant team in the news today, the Indianapolis Colts, under 8.5 wins at -142. Firstly, the juice on this at -142 pales in comparison from book to book. At another shop, you can find this at -170. So I already felt like that was a job well done. But the Anthony Richardson news today made me feel even better about this bet. With this bet, and all of the other 4, schedules are key. And the Indianapolis Colts are only going to survive this schedule if they get Anthony Richardson playing the level that they are hoping for. We talked about their upcoming 4 matchups with Minnesota, Buffalo, New York, and Detroit, where they will be a dog in all of them. Flacco can raise their floor. I do not believe in Joe Flacco meeting their ceiling to see them survive through that March. I just don't. And if that, let's throw the New England Patriots game into the fold there. They're going to have to go 3-2 within that run in order to start to line themselves up to get over the 8.5, which I do not think they will. And plus, those final 4 games might look light. I disagree. Denver's on the road, who's also off of a bye, and then divisional games that can always be a little trickier. We're Colts under 8.5 at -142. Next up. Oh, we did it again. The most unbiased man in the history of sports media. Dallas Cowboys over the 8.5 at +120. Look, juice was relevant here for me when placing these wagers because there's some instances where maybe we'd be better off taking this team game to game, right? Some people would probably say, Kev, you got to bet Dallas to just beat Atlanta if you want to take this. No, I don't. No, I think they can beat Atlanta. I think if you look at their next 4 games with the road trips to Atlanta and Washington with games going against the Eagles and Houston at home, they're all winnable. Yeah, you could say they're all losable, but what we've known from the Dallas Cowboys is they'll find a way. If you look at their losses, yes, they've been absolutely dominated by the best teams in football. The Lions, the Ravens, the Niners, and the Saints when they were healthy, which is actually what they looked like. It really is. That is a movable 4-game run where I think I only need 2-2 because what follows is a beautiful schedule that they can march through. The Giants, the Bengals, and the Carolina Panthers, followed by Tampa Bay, are all games they will be favored in. They close it going to Philly and then hosting Washington, and we know Dallas has always done well with Dak in division. Again, this is a Cowboys team that currently has just 3 wins. I need 6 more. I know that seems like a lot. All this team has to do is go 2-2 in their next 4, which is what I think a very fair projection is, and I think they will easily handle their business in the remaining 6 games to get us through that 8.5 win total at a plus price. Another plus price checks in on the Los Angeles Chargers. I've been in on the Chargers preseason. I considered a win total. I played them and the Chiefs to finish 1-2 in any order. It looks like they'll need to hold off Denver, but their schedule's tough, and their win total's much lower than the Chargers. So I didn't need to reinvest in L.A., but I am. This is a playoff team, and I believe this is a winning wager at +128. The easiest thing that I can tell you is this schedule has a security blanket. The way I view it is they'll likely need to just split the final 2 at New England and at Vegas, and that should be good enough to grab them a 10th win. Worst case scenario, we go into week 17 and 18 needing the Chargers to win both. Well, look at the direction the Patriots and Raiders are heading. The Chargers will be favored to win both, and they are going to be a part of that AFC playoff hunt, so you know they'll be putting their best foot forward. And Harbaugh's just the caliber of coach that I think can survive some injuries, which is the only reason the Chargers probably don't have a record right now than they actually do. That's 3 of 5. On the other side, my two favorites. They kind of just did some business, and it doesn't scare me in the slightest. We'll finish out the win totals and bring in Dave Sharapan as well with you on Game Time Decisions.
That kid on the two-point conversion play was wide open on the right side of the end zone, and the kid threw it about 15 rows over his head.
People crystallize Georgia and Alabama. They put them on the shelf above everyone else, and they're just not there this year. I thought the kid Beck was great on Saturday, but they barely beat Mississippi State, who is porous.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Look, Aaron Rodgers, it does seem like he really enjoys, people like us, Vinny, talking about him.
I don't know what's going on here with Aaron Rodgers. I think there's some frustration settling in, and the Jets were not supposed to be this bad of a defense, right? They've had a lot of injuries. Maybe that's the thing here. Robert Saleh's influence is there. I know they have their defensive coordinator running things, but now he's distracted.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back with you right here, Game Time Decisions. We are going through our Take 5 of updated NFL win totals. So far, we've had the Triple C. And no, it's not a chocolate chip chunk cookie, boom, boom, boom. No, it's the Colts, the Cowboys, and the Chargers, and those win totals are already on the board. We have 2 remaining, and they just did a trade with one another, and you would think it would mess this up. I don't care. Jaguars over 5.5. At minus 125. They have 2 wins right now. They are better than a 2-win team. I was in on Jacksonville preseason. I never got to the window on any of their numbers. I get there now. They are playing the Eagles this week, and I'll be in person. So let's not get one of those this weekend. But if you look at the upcoming 3 games, that to me is the key. It's at Philly, it's home against Minnesota, and it's at Detroit. Everyone in the world will project that to be 0-3. And I know they now trade Cam Robinson. They lose Kirk for the year. Thomas for probably the whole stretch. I just think they are better than an 0-3 run. And if they can get 1 win there, we'll only need 3 more. And the back end of this schedule is more than movable. At home off a bye with Houston, they're playing the Titans twice, the Colts and whatever that is, the Vegas Raiders who are a mess. The Jets might be the worst team on this remaining schedule. Get 1 win in the next 3 weeks, and the Jaguars can easily get through this updated win total of 5.5. And if I could pick one, it's that game against Minnesota. My favorite updated win total is the Vikings under 10.5. I've been nice to the Vikings. They came out, smashed the Giants, and I didn't even say, oh, it's Daniel Jones. I said that was impressive. And then they just kept winning and winning and winning, and uh-oh, Uh-oh. Is Sam Darnold your quarterback? Yeah, he is. And it looks like the chickens are coming home to roost. It was inevitable. Look, Minnesota can still make the playoffs and go under this number. But at plus 130 for Sammy Delight, to not win 11 games? Yes, please. They play the Colts on Sunday night. Well, everybody's going to tell me they could lose that game because Flacco's the quarterback. You know what? Fine. I think they can lose to Jacksonville on the road. I do. Titans, Bears, Cardinals, Falcons, Bears. People are going to say, bad team, bad team, bad team. I don't know about that. And I'll tell you what, you better be right. Because they close this with the Pacific Northwest trip to Seattle, who I think can be just as good as them. A Packers team who you think will have Jordan Love available. And then the Detroit Lions, who, if they need it, will roll this team at home. I am under 10.5 for the Minnesota Vikings at plus 130. Dave Sharapan is here. Consig, it is always good to see you. Win totals, 5 of them. That's ranked, but I bet them all. Vikings under 10.5. Jaguars over 5.5. Over 9.5 Chargers. Over 8.5 Cowboys. And under 8.5 on the Indianapolis Colts. Your thoughts, sir, on any of those numbers?
Not bad. I like this segment. Have you ever had a Take 5 candy bar? That's more importantly, naming the segment Take 5. I'm impressed with that. I don't know. The Vikings argument was compelling, and I think a lot of people were against them. The Jacksonville one's interesting, K-Dub. With you being in the house Sunday,
yeah,
you're rooting against
no
that bet.
Yes.
Like right.
Rooting
yeah.
yes, that's okay. Rooting against that bet, no doubt. No doubt.
Right. Yeah.
But
I mean,
they don't need that one.
Wait on that one.
I'd rather not.
Down. Okay.
Because here's why. If I'm wrong and they win that game and I waited and it goes to 6.5, well, that's not a fun time. That's not a fun time.
Philly and winning?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't think that. I do not. You know how good I think the Eagles are. You saw me being snarky on Twitter on Sunday. You replied. I mean, look, you've got Pennsylvania gear on. I'll talk Penn State with you if you'll talk a little Eagles with me. I mean, come on now. Yeah. Birds got juice, Dave.
I said to somebody that I don't know who the second best team in the NFC is right now. Right. I think it's Detroit is the number 1, but Philly's back in the discussion for the number 2. People were ready to bury them and put them away. I don't know. Things are starting to come together. I mean, my man Newbie called it Shaviani since he shaved his head. They're 3-0. I don't know. We might be onto something there with that team.
The team's got juice, let me tell you. Yeah, I mean, look, my only thing is, because I'm annoying, is I think they should have been in that conversation before they beat Cincinnati, but seeing is believing for everyone, and we had to pretend the Packers were better than them, despite the fact that the Eagles literally beat the Packers. But I have people
but it
like
was in Brazil on that bad field. Remember that they discount that win right away because
but
it wasn't in either stadium.
To be fair, though, had they lost that game, nobody would discount the win. Everyone would be like, "Come on, Green Bay rocked them." I don't know what. A lot of people do not like the Eagles. It's probably a Sirianni thing, but it's kind of, maybe created some value on them for a few weeks. Where they were laying 3 to the Giants. Won that game by 25 points. They handled their business in Cincinnati, and maybe they can kind of, get moving and grooving here a little bit. Has anything been standing out to you, Dave, kind of within the NFL, now that we're really hitting the midway point of this season?
Well, I was going to come in the Steelers stuff after last night. I didn't want to, I kind of slept in it, but, so it was a little wrinkled and I had to change for the show. The Steelers being 6-2 with that schedule that they have on the back end, you were talking about, you need to look at that stuff for these adjusted season wins. That's a team that, just like the Eagles, everybody's going, yeah, but they have a quarterback. Yeah, but, well, if TJ Watt gets hurt, yeah, but I don't know. They're there. The Ravens lost to the Browns. Are the Browns back? I mean, who's the best team in the AFC? Because based on the odds and based on the records, it's Kansas City. But there's a lot of people waiting in line to tell you that it's not Kansas City. So I don't know. The AFC is a complete mess right now as far as that upper tier. I think it changes week to week, which I can tell you in the book, it doesn't change that much. The odds kind of stay stable and everybody just kind of just keeps on trucking.
Yeah, I think with Pittsburgh, for me, the win against the Giants was not a chance to prove how good they are, but give themselves necessary cushion to work through what is a ridiculous remaining schedule. I mean, if you go through it, Dave, right? So they play 6 quarterbacks, right? Winston, and then it's Lamar, Mahomes, Burrow, Hurts, and Jaden Daniels. I mean, that's a crazy run of teams that they have to play. I went through all 32. My desire on the Steelers was under 10.5. That wasn't a number that was really popping. I mean, some heavily juiced under 10.5s, but this team should win 9 or 10 games, and they're probably going to be in the playoffs again.
6-2 right now. That's 9 games left.
Yeah.
They haven't played a division game yet. I don't understand, like, the quirk in the scheduling. There's a lot left to figure out. If they go better than 4-5, they might win a division, get a home game, have to go there, in January and win a game, a little bit different. And especially if it's a primetime game, because we saw what Tomlin and the boys do on primetime games. They were a fumble away from blowing the game against the Giants last night. Like, let's not forget that. That score may have been a little bit, misleading. But, I think, I don't know. Steelers are 6-2. Penn State's undefeated in playing Ohio State this week at home. And Pitt is undefeated and getting 7 against SMU. Wow. Western Pennsylvania's cooking.
It's on fire. We're going to talk World Series with the Consig after a break right here on Game Time Decisions.
That kid on the two-point conversion play was wide open on the right side of the end zone, and the kid threw it about 15 rows over his head.
People crystallized Georgia and Alabama. They put them on the shelf above everyone else, and they're just not there this year. I thought the kid Beck was great on Saturday, but they barely beat Mississippi State, who is porous.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Look, Aaron Rodgers, it does seem like he really enjoys, people like us, Vinny, talking about him.
I don't know what's going on here with Aaron Rodgers. I think there's some frustration settling in, and the Jets were not supposed to be this bad of a defense, right? They've had a lot of injuries. Maybe that's the thing here. Robert Saleh's influence is there. I know they have their defensive coordinator running things, but now he's distracted.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back with you right here on SportsGrid's Game Time Decisions. We've got the World Series coming up, Dave. The bet I placed in this one, don't be shy because everyone else has told me they hate it. Louis Heel, over 11.5 outs to pitch 4 innings in this game. Any thoughts on that bet and then the matchup of game number 4 here?
Man, I was going to come on and Dodger stuff, and I changed my mind because I figured that would be like piling on, knowing you're a Yankee guy and have been all this time. I don't know, Kevin. You know I love baseball. I think I want this to be over. I feel like I'm watching just be done. I don't know. So good luck. I think in an elimination game, he may have a short hook. Let's hope he doesn't, have traffic on the base paths. But
Yeah.
how do you not have traffic on the base paths the way the Dodgers are extending at bats, taking pitches that are close, and putting guys on? So I hope you win. If he goes 4, let's hope he goes 6 and 7, and we get another game at Yankee Stadium tomorrow.
Okay, hold on. Now, you just said something that surprised me. What I will just say is, you made everyone's made the point, like, he's going to have a short hook. Well, I'm not banking on him getting destroyed and staying out there. Like, I think, of course, he's going to do well enough to earn 4 innings. Put that aside. I'm usually the curmudgeon around baseball.
Yeah.
You're usually the guy who's telling me, like, hey, come on, don't forget about us over here in the baseball world.
I know.
Why do you want Yankees-Dodgers to be over?
I don't feel like the Yankees have a shot. I mean, look at Judge. Like, how many more times can I watch him flail at the ball and not be close? Like,
Wow.
it's frustrating. How many more times can you see them strand runners on base and not get key hits, clutch hits when it's time? I've just accepted the fact that the Dodgers are going to win, and I don't know if I need to see it extended past tonight. They won a bullpen game against San Diego in a clincher. They won a bullpen game against the Mets in a clincher, and they're going with a bullpen game tonight. I thought it was Darius Kasparaitis when I saw the name of the starter. I'm like, who is this? Like, what are they doing? They're making a mockery of it all. Kevin, I'm beaten down. I've had enough. Enjoy it. Like, win it. Just be done with it. I can focus on the basketball and the hockey and a gigantic matchup in college football this weekend in State College. I mean, the team's undefeated. Everything about it. I'm so excited for it. I just want to talk about that and win that game on Saturday. So I'm a little bit like, all right, enough.
That's just, I don't even have a problem. I'm just surprised. Honestly, I'm surprised. Because the one thing with the series is, I mean, look, the Verdugo home run kind of does a lot of covering for it, but it's not that these are like routes, like 8-1 games, right?
Yeah.
And the Judge thing, now look, the Judge thing is like personally gut-wrenching to watch.
Oh, it's terrible.
I don't really know, like,
anything. Hit a ball hard, Kevin. He's not even fouling balls off.
But here's the thing. So, Dave, because you and I did talk a ton of baseball, right, all year.
Yeah.
And what is blowing my mind about this situation is there's probably some people out there, I'm not taking shots, it's fine, who didn't watch a lot of baseball. They're seeing Judge, and they're going, come on, man, what'd you expect? Strikeout or home run, that's who he is. The guy had, like, the 3rd best batting average in baseball this season. Like, that's the part, Dave, that is blowing my mind. The best version of himself is the guy that we saw through 162. And this is the worst version of himself we've ever seen. And it's been every single series. And it's getting worse.
It's not getting better. It's getting worse. And that's why at some point, I mean, I just know from like coaching the kids, there comes to a point where you just realize like you almost have to sit. Like you have to just take a night, and you can't take a night off in the World Series. I mean, a guy lost his job in Indianapolis for taking a playoff. Can you imagine the burial that Judge would have if he's, if Boone said, listen, he can't hit water right now. If he fell out of a boat, he's got to sit. I can't have him out there. We'll send him out to center and play defense. Put him 7th in the order. There's nothing else for Boone to do to make this any better, and he's not going to get him going. There's no answer. So when you watch it, you just go, man, I really thought it would turn around in the World Series. I thought like Dodgers in 6, Yankees in 6, we were going to get it back to California after New York. I don't think it's happening.
No, like I don't like crushing Boone is like fine, but not like Donnie the other night was like, he's like, I can't believe they're not dropping him. I'm like, no, what are you talking about? You can't drop him. For what? So Rizzo can bat third? Come on. Come on. You can't drop him.
What are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do? It's those 3 guys, and they got a hit. And, like, Jazz has been okay here and there. And Glaber was good for a series, and now he can't get on base. I don't know. I'm a little bit, like that one, gift that the guy from Pittsburgh sounds like. I'm bummed out. I'm a little bummed out. I wanted a better series. I thought the Yankees had game 1. That was a moment in time that's going to live forever, and it was cool as hell to see Freeman win it. I'm going to go on with Wetzel in the next show. Wetzel has a ticket on Freeman to win the World Series MVP at 33-1.
Okay.
And he is sitting on it now, and we're going to talk about it, and I hope he gets to the window with it, and the sooner the better, because like I said, it's a huge – really, the college football weekend – there's a couple big games, but the whole weekend in general, we're setting things up for next week. But, man, my game, Kevin, I mean, are you going to tell me you like the Buckeyes? Like, a lot of people like the Buckeyes, Kevin.
I you know me on a Tuesday, like I'm not there yet, but what's the deal with your quarterback?
I don't know. It's bad news. I don't know. When you don't know and it's Tuesday, odds makers put up 3.5. Okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
I went back and forth with a lot of my buddies, and they're like, the summer line was 6, right? It was 6 in the summer. Don't forget that.
All right. A little bit of life then. We'll get you out of here. It's a quick break. We've got the Consig with us on Game Time Decisions.
That kid on the 2-point conversion play was wide open on the right side of the end zone, and the kid threw it about 15 rows over his head.
People crystallize Georgia and Alabama. They put them on the shelf above everyone else, and they're just not there this year. I thought the kid Beck was great on Saturday, but they barely beat Mississippi State, who is porous.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Look, Aaron Rodgers, it does seem like he really enjoys, people like us, Vinny, talking about him.
I don't know what's going on here with Aaron Rodgers. I think there's some frustration settling in, and the Jets were not supposed to be this bad of a defense, right? They've had a lot of injuries. Maybe that's the thing here. Robert Saleh's influence is there. I know they have their defensive coordinator running things, but now he's distracted.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're with you right here on Sports Grid. Anthony Edwards is lighting the world on fire to open up the game against the Dallas Mavericks. He's made 4 threes with 4 minutes left in the first quarter. He's got 17. Luka's got 5 on the other side of the floor there. Jokic and Denver losing early in Brooklyn. The ice is hot right now. 4-1 Kraken over Montreal. Caps leading the Rangers early 2-1. A fight broke out, and then some goals broke out with Alexander Ovechkin making it happen here. Dave, I know you're going to be locked and loaded tonight on In-Game Live. I'm assuming the World Series will be the main focus.
Yep. I will have the World Series covered. Wetzel will have a lot of the other stuff. Of course, I'm deep into the hockey. The Flower, Marc-Andre Fleury returned to Pittsburgh for his last time ever. He's going to play a game there. He won cups there. They love him there. The game's already flying over. You want to talk about a game with juice? It's 2-2. The Penguins can't stop them, although they can score them. Pre-game, that was an over. Washington, live dog against the Rangers. Big fight. Rempe and McLaren apparently fought in juniors. They had to settle the score again on the second shift. They battled. We got fights all over. You mentioned in a break that they're talking about, somebody said they should bring fighting to the NBA. I don't think you need fighting in the NBA to make it interesting. There's a lot of good basketball games, and it's getting interesting already. Tonight, Pelicans favored on the road at the Warriors, Kevin. Did you see that number? I know Steph's not playing.
Well,
but you want to lay points on the road with the Pelicans?
So here's what it is. They play tonight and tomorrow in that building. Dave, isn't it a classic? Bet the loser tomorrow and just don't even
100%.
bother about this game, right? You
Yep.
probably just get on out of there with that and try not to give yourself a headache. That's kind of where my head's at right now, but we shall see. We shall see. I'll leave you with this.
Uh-huh.
If your boys do finally beat Ohio State,
oh please,
you not only are 8-0, going to the playoff, going to a Big Ten title game, you put Ohio State on next level fraud watch.
Blue bonnet full alert.
That gets pretty interesting. That's Dave Sarapan at Consig. Dave, we appreciate you stopping by. Again, he's going to be live with you on In-Game Live.
Good steak. Tell him, Kevin.
Man, the guy's hyped up. The guy is hyped up. Look, just to recap for you here, we are invested in Luka Doncic scoring the ball. He's come out a little bit cold, but it is early. We're on Nikola Jokic over the 20.5 rebounds plus assists. He's got 8 of those tallied in the opening quarter with 4 boards and 4 dimes. So that is off to a good track. They are trailing against Brooklyn, which is pretty interesting there. Late night, we're going to be on Zion, all right? His number's 22.5. Got to have him of a part of some parlays there, but Zion's a guy I'm going to look for. I do think Draymond could very well step up as in that game. He right now sits at 20.5 points, rebounds, and assists. That's a number that I think he can get through. And it admittedly is a little more narrative-y than what we've seen, but this is a new roster, so that kind of plays into what goes into that game. Just another quick update here, because I know they're going to be covering the World Series a lot tonight, but Anthony Edwards has got 20 in the opening quarter, live number 42.5. He's made 5 triples, live number 8.5 there. I mean, can he run with it? Are they hanging him to get 50? They are. It's locked, though. And I'd give it I'd give it a look. I'd give it a look. We'll close with this. Perhaps for the last time, we talk Major League Baseball, Yankees, Dodgers. Louis Heel has the ball. I believe the Yankees are throwing him because they think that he can step up. You don't have to tell me that they'll have a quick hook. I'm not expecting a quick hook. I'm expecting a good start. I think Louis Heel goes at least 4 innings tonight for the Yankees and gets over the 11.5 recorded outs prop. And I think the Yankees are live in this baseball game, booked as favorites. It feels like they're going to get this back to L.A. But I'm probably lying to myself. But why not? I'm allowed to. I'm not betting the Yanks money line, so why be pessimistic? We'll hope. We'll see. We'll find out. Aaron Judge, can he do it? I believe he's 80-1 to win World Series MVP. Yeah, that would be some comeback story. Nobody thinks he can, and they're not wrong. They're not wrong. All right, great having you with us on a Tuesday. I will see you for Thursday Night Football with the crew on Sports Grid.